Vanakkam. Hello friends. The revelation of the science behind the dancing Nataraja, portrayed by Ananda Kumarasamy so beautifully in his essay titled The Dance of Shiva, published in the year 1912, created a buzz among the scientific community of the world. In the year 1961, Aldous Huxley, the great British philosopher, upon glancing at the Nataraja, commented, "The whole world is there, you see, the world of space and time, of creation and destruction, of matter and energy, the world of psychology. We, the West, don't have anything remotely approaching such a comprehensive symbol which is both spiritual and cosmic." The Nataraja figured on the cover of a major work by a Belgian scientist, Ilya Prigogine, in the year 1971, as if providing visual metaphors for abstract concepts discussed relating to thermodynamics, flux, and stability. Fritjof Capra, the Austrian-born American physicist, whose Tower of Physics, that was a groundbreaking exploration of the parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism, published in the year 1975 and translated into 23 languages across the globe, in which he euphorically wrote, "The dancing Shiva is the dancing universe, the ceaseless flow of energy going through an infinite variety of patterns that melt into one another, a pulsating process of creation and destruction without end. For the modern physicist, then, Shiva's dance is the dance of subatomic matter." Now, this is the idea that was conveyed by Ananda Kumarasamy, who quoted from Manavasaham Kadandar's Unmai Vilakkam. This is one of the 14 Saivite tenets that follow the Saiva Siddhantam, and Manavasaham Kadandar himself was a disciple of Meiganda Devanayanar. And here are the 4 very famous lines quoted by Ananda Kumarasamy. "Totram tudiyadanill தோயும் திதியமைப்பில் சாற்றியிடும் அங்கியிலே சங்காரம் ஊற்றமா ஊன்று மலர்பாதத்தில் உற்ற திரோதம் முக்தி நான்ற மலர்பதத்தே நாடு." Here, Totram, creation, is depicted by the tudi or drum in his right hand. The fire of destruction, Angi, is denoted in the left hand. The aloft leg, the left leg, is one of grace, and the leg that is there on the floor is the leg of illusion, that is Maraital, and he is full of love and benefaction towards his devotees, noted by his Amainda Thirukkai. This caught the fancy of the scientists, wherein the tudi or udukai that denoted sound, the foremost significance connects it with the rhythm of the universe. Sound was the first manifestation in the unfolding of the universe, sound being the characteristic of ether, which is the most subtle of cosmic matter, which is exactly what Thillai or Chidambaram stands for, what we denote as the Chidambara Rahasyam. The other hand holding the fire of destruction, the creation and destruction happening in a continuous cycle that is depicted by the Thiruvachi, the circle of fire that is known as the Prabhavali in Sanskrit, that ends in 2 Magaras, which is known as the Kala Magara, the bent leg depicting the balance or equilibrium corresponding to time, and that the fact that the Lord is rotating wildly is denoted by his flowing locks of hair that are horizontal, as well as the garment around his hips that is flaring out. "Adiyum andamum illa arum perum jodi," sings Manikavasahar in his Thiruvampavai, that denotes this endless, timeless circle of Lord's activities. Carl Sagan, the great American astronomer and author, who gave us the hit TV series in the 80s, Cosmos, A Personal Voyage, suggested that the Nataraja conveyed a premonition of a modern astronomical idea. Well, he was both right and wrong. Modern astronomical ideas, yes, very much, but it was not a premonition, as our ancients had a very deep understanding of cosmology. Astronomical connotations to the iconography of the Nataraja compared with the constellation of the Orion has been of much research in recent times. The Orion constellation has served as a timekeeper for every ancient civilization in the world simply because it was observable throughout the globe along the celestial equator, and very famously noted was the three-star belt in the middle. The author Robert Bowell, in his 1994 work The Orion Mystery, writes of how the pyramids of Giza are aligned with the three stars in the Orion's belt and represents the Egyptian god Osiris. The name Orion itself comes from the Greek hunter god, and while the earliest known depiction of the Orion constellation is found in the Aurignacian culture in the Ark caves in Germany, dated to between 38,000 and 32,000 year BCE, here in our own country, in our part of the world, the constellation has been depicted in what we know as petroglyphs, which are rock art paintings in Narthamalai in Dindukal district, where these paintings are found on the shelter of a cave below the Aalurutti Malai. An original hypothesis of Orion Nataraja was proposed by Dr. Venkatraman, an art history professor from Madurai who taught at the Madurai Kamaraj University. He published a paper in the year 1975, an erudite scholar in Sanskrit and Tamil who loved the Tirumandiram and Thiruvaimozhi. Those of us who are members of INTAC have had the privilege of listening to his paper presentation in person. Here is a diagram of the Orion constellation superimposed on the Lord Nataraja. Here you see a very bright red star sitting on the right hand shoulder of the Lord's imagery. This is known as Betelgeuse in English, and we know it by the name Tiruvadirai, the holiest of stars associated with Lord Shiva. In the month of December, which corresponds with the Tamil month of Margazhi, on the full moon day, when the Orion constellation rises high up in the sky, the Tiruvadirai Betelgeuse star is shining at its brightest, and this is observed in the holy place of Thillai and all the Shiva temples in Tamil country as the Tiruvadirai Vizha, one of the oldest and holiest of festivals observed by Saivites in this part of the country. ஞானசம்பந்தர், the child saint, sings in his 7th century hymn on the Lord at Mylapore, ஊர்திரை வேலை உலாவும் உயர் மயிலை கூர்தரு வேல்வல்லார் கொற்றங்கொள் சேரிதனில் கார்தரு சோலை கபாலி சரமமர்ந்தான் ஆர்திரை நாள் காணாதே போதியோ பூம்பாவாய். This is a part of the famous hymn where ஞானசம்பந்தர் performs the miracle of bringing to life Angam Poombavai, and it is clear from these 4 lines that then the Kabalishwara temple itself was a naval temple, a coastal temple on the shores of the Bay of Bengal that we today know as the Marina Beach. And here Aarthirai Naal, the Tiruvadirai Naal celebration is recorded. Aarthirayan Endren Rayarumal Oorthirai Velai Ulagu goes a line in Muttollairam. Muttollairam is a compilation that sings the praises of the 3 kings, the Cheras, the Cholas and the Pandyas, which the great Tamil scholar S. Vayyabari Pillai dates to the 5th century AD. Now from here, the celebration of Tiruvadirai goes even back, as mention is made in the Sangam literary works Paribadal and Kalitohai, and here goes a line in Paribadal, Mayirun Tingal Maru Nirai Adirai Virinul Andanar Vilavu Todangi. The priests are getting ready for the celebration of Tiruvadirai. Arum Peral Adirayan sings Kalitohai. Adirai Mudalvanin Kilandanadar Pannoruvar goes another line in Paribadal. All this attests to the antiquity of the Betelgeuse star, that is Tiruvadirai, being associated with the holy Saivite places of the Tamil country. Now, we know that the Milky Way in colloquial Tamil is known as Ahasa Gangai, and here in this diagram you will see that the Ahasa Gangai cuts through across the celestial equator, wherein is matched the story of the Ganga flowing down from the heavens and trapped in the matted hairlocks of the Lord. The left shoulder that carries the fire, the Angi, is denoted by the star Aldebaran that we know as Rohini in Sanskrit and Sahadam in Tamil, an orangish yellow star which is part of the Taurus constellation. The Taurus in its form is normally called the bull constellation, and here it is established that the position of the Taurus as opposed to the imagery of the Lord is what is denoted by the Nandi in Hindu temples. And the Taurus constellation also has several dust particles or remnants of various supernova explosions that have happened over time. Supernova is a term used to refer to the extremely bright, super powerful explosion of a star, and the remnants such are called a nebula. The crystal ball nebula, the Merope nebula, all form a part of the Taurus, and here is a line in Purananuru, Val Vel Eru. At any point of time when a comet passes through Taurus, it is known as the Valmeen or Val Nakshatram in Tamil. And could this be a depiction of the poet capturing the imagery of a comet passing through the Taurus constellation? In those days, in Tamil country, the practice of conducting weddings on a full moon day under the star Rohini, that is Sahadam, was considered very auspicious, as is evidenced from these lines in the Ahana Nuru. The poet Vittrotu Moodeinanar sings, Tel Oli Amkan Iru Visambu Vilanga, Tingal Sahadam Mandriya Tuhaltir Kuttattu, Kadinahar Punaindu Kadavul Peni. Here Kadinahar refers to the mandabam that is constructed for the taking place of the wedding under the star Sahadam, that is Rohini. But what is interesting is the line, Sahadam Mandiya Tuhaltir Kuttattu. The nebula, the dust particles that are there as part of the Taurus constellation, is captured by the poet in these lines, and the story of Kovalan and Kannagi in Silappathiharam also shows that they were married under the star Sahadam. The knowledge that the ancients had in astronomy is quite stunning, and here the Lepus or hare constellation that is below the Nataraja is directly referred to as Muyalagan in Tamil, as we have already seen in the lines sung by Thirumolar, Ahasamam Udalangar Muyalagan, where he clearly shows that this Muyalagan is in the Ahasa, in the skies. Again, the 3-star Mirghasirusha constellation in the diagram falls exactly aligned with the 3 eyes of the Lord, the Mukkan. The spatial correlation between the canonical features of the Ananda Tandava icon and position of the stars in the Orion region had such a dramatic match. How did the sculptor have access to accurate star positions of that epoch, asks Dr. Nirupama Raghavan, a celebrated astrophysicist who was the first woman in India in the field of observational astronomy. From our own Chennai, archaeoastronomy was her passion, and she here acknowledges Dr. Venkatraman's original hypothesis of the link between the Orion constellation and the Nataraja iconography. And in her research, she also points out several other interesting facts, like for example, the consecration of the Valishwara temple in Mylapore that happened in the year 1761 AD on the 6th of June, which is the exact date of the transit of the planet Venus, which is known as Vali in Tamil. From there, she makes a link to another very interesting supernova explosion that happened in the year 1054 AD. We will continue in the next episode. Vanakkam.